This episode of Raw was an absolute banger. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Hankeshh, and we are back with the Raw Roundup. We take a look at this past episode of Raw, and we talk about the things that we liked, the things that we didn't like, and just overall just talk about our feelings about the show. If you aren't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, like this video, and let me know in the comments below, what did you guys like about this episode of Raw? Also, be sure to go over and follow my TikTok page at Hankeshh. Over there, we take all the conversations from this channel, and we just continue it over there. You know, you can see my reactions to the shows. We talk a little bit more about the shows, and we have a discussion in the comment section over there, so go check that out. Without further ado, let's get into it. Dude, I really do sound like Diet and Santi's app, bro. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the biggest thing about this show, and that is that it was the final Raw for John Cena in his hometown of Boston. Triple H kicked off the show announcing John Cena, saying that he is the absolute undisputed GOAT and that everyone in the building at TD Garden can agree with that. Then John Cena came out, cut this heartfelt promo, poured his heart out to the fans of Boston. Obviously, it's going to be his last time as an in-ring competitor there. So, you know, he wanted to get all off his chest there. Then that sneaky, slimy heel that is Dominic Mysterio comes out and interrupts him, saying that the old man and his father interrupted his celebration last week, so he's interrupting this old man's celebration. And then John Cena stood on business, saying, not tonight. Any other night I would let this slide, but tonight in Boston, I am invincible. Bro, I love it when John Cena gets serious. He starts to stand on business. It makes me feel like a kid again when John Cena was going up against the Nexus, when John Cena was going up against Edge, when John Cena was going up all against all of his old foes from his past, when he's had that serious nature. And that's the John Cena I love to see. It's the John Cena that we haven't seen on this retirement run yet. So I'm glad that we got it out today against Dom Mysterio. They had a banger of a match. On the spot, Triple H made a match for Dom Mysterio versus John Cena for the Intercontinental Championship. And Mr. Big Match John did it. He won the Intercontinental Championship. He secured himself the Grand Slam. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was not expecting this win at all. I thought John was gonna lose this match, put over Dom, because Dom was doing a great job with the Intercontinental Championship. I thought he was going to continue this reign and go feud for the Intercontinental Championship with his father, but instead we got a surprise dub for John Cena. I think it was a phenomenal match. It was a very fun match. You had Dom trying to win through these sneaky tactics, these slimy tactics as he's been using for the last couple months. It didn't work because Big Match John, Mr. Super Cena, Mr. Invincible himself, was not going to lose tonight in his hometown of Boston. Now, a lot of people immediately after this happened were speculating like, oh, his last match is going to be for the IC Championship. Who's going to face him for the IC Championship his last match? But in my opinion, I don't think that John Cena is going to hold this belt all the way until his last match. I think either he drops it next week right back to Dom Mysterio, or he drops it at Survivor Series to somebody else in his match there. I don't think he holds on to it for that long. I think they gave it to him in this particular building because it's his hometown. They want to secure him his Grand Slam before he retired. I think he's going to drop the belt pretty shortly afterwards. Also, I think his final match would just be a lot more interesting if he did not have the IC belt, because that way it could go either way. If John Cena still had the belt, I think it was pretty much guaranteed that he would lose and drop the belt to whoever retired him. But if he doesn't have the belt, I think there's also a possibility that he could win and go out at the top of the mountain just like Sting did in AEW. The next big thing, or I guess two biggest things on this show, were officially announcing what the matchups are going to be for the Wargames matches at Survivor Series Wargames in San Diego. Starting off with the men's side of things, you have Team CM Punk versus Team Vision. Obviously, the big cliffhanger from last week's show was Logan Paul turning on CM Punk, hitting him with the brass knuckles, and then handing those brass knuckles to Paul Heyman. On this week's episode, they confirmed that Logan Paul has unofficially kind of joined the Vision. Seems like it's for a Wargames temporary alliance, but I wouldn't mind this alliance going a little bit further, especially if Logan starts showing up more full time. He's also a relatively young star. He says that he loves performing for the WWE. It's one of his favorite things to do right now. Having him be a part of a group that's all about the future of the WWE, the future of the industry, I think it's a good fit. He just has to show up more. That's it. But yeah, so far, Team Vision, it's Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Logan Paul. We're still waiting for either one or two more members, depending on if the Wargames is going to be a 4v4 or a 5v5. And on the babyface side of things, Team CM Punk, you have CM Punk, Jey Uso, and on this show, you had Cody Rhodes. Yes, that's right. The champ from SmackDown came to this episode of Raw to come see John Cena in Boston one final time, and he ended up getting his nose in business that had nothing to do with him. Now, the initial reaction on the internet for Cody Rhodes joining this team is that people were pissed. They were not a fan that Cody Rhodes would just abandon everything that's going on SmackDown and jump over to Raw and join this Wargames thing. But I think people need to chill. Let this story develop a little bit. Just a couple days ago on Friday Night SmackDown, you had two new competitors in their main event event scene, Aleister Black and Damian Priest. I think one of the reasons for adding them into that main event picture is to make the SmackDown main event scene also a part of the War Games match. I can easily see a world where Paul Heyman is able to convince Aleister Black to join the heel side of things, and then Team Punk will have to go and recruit someone who knows Aleister Black really well, and who better than Damian Priest, who has this vendetta against him for shooting him in the face with a fireball. Now, the one wrinkle in that prediction of mine is Drew McIntyre. Obviously, Drew McIntyre has had beef with Paul Heyman during the whole bloodline fight that he had, and with the whole Seth Rollins thing that was going on. So I doubt that Drew McIntyre would ever team up with a Vision, but I think WWE made a workaround by giving him this suspension that they did on SmackDown. I think the suspension is going to last all the way until after Survivor Series, before Drew makes his shocking return and fight Cody Rhodes once again. But if WWE can make a good justification for Drew McIntyre joining the Vision side of things, I wouldn't be mad. But it has to be believable, and it has to be a good one, considering that Drew has a lot of history with Mr. Heyman. Even though there's a lot of criticism for the men's side of things against War Games, the women's side of War Games is absolutely killing it right now. We've talked about how in the past few weeks, the women's tag team division is one of the best things going on the product right now. So it was safe to assume that somehow they would take these teams and pair them up into alliances for a potential War Games match. That's exactly what they did. They took the top tag team feuds from each brand, put them in alliances, and matched them up together for War Games. You have the Kabuki Warriors teaming up with Nia Jax and a debuting Lash Legend going up against Charlexa and Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Yes, that's right. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley returned on this episode of Raw at the very end. I'm telling you, this episode of Raw was absolutely stacked with surprises, star power, and everything, bro. They officially team up with Charlotte and Alexa to make the babyface side of things for War Games. And to add more fuel to the fire for this match, you also had the tag team championships switch hands by having the Kabuki Warriors take them off of Charlotte and Alexa. I think they absolutely deserve it. The Kabuki Warriors have been doing amazing work over the last month. Am I a little bit upset that they won it because of interference by Nia Jax and Lash Legend? Yes. But I think because it builds up to a bigger narrative during War Games, that it can be forgiven, because the Kabuki Warriors still look like complete badasses. The way it currently sits, it is at a 4v4 for War Games. I don't know if they're gonna make it a 5v5. I'm okay with keeping it just as a 4v4, but if they want to make it a 5v5, I think you could tell an interesting story of Bayley and Lyra where they split up for a little bit. Over the past 2 weeks, you had this storyline of the Kabuki Warriors refusing to attack Bayley, or hesitant to attack Bayley, and with their whole split personality thing going on, you could have her revert back to a damage control like Bayley, have him team up with the Kabuki Warriors and join the heel faction for a little bit. And Lyra, in an attempt to save Bayley or bring Bayley back down to earth, she joins the babyface side of things and tries to beat Bayley out of this damage control phase. So you could tell an interesting story by turning it into a 5v5 with those two competitors. But if you keep it at 4v4, I think it's still going to be an absolute amazing match. I think the women's War Games match is going to absolutely cook the men's War Games match this year. The women's division is so up right now, and I love watching it every single week. Speaking of the women's division being up, guys, it finally happened. Nikki Bella has finally turned heel on Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie had a match with Raquel on this episode of Raw, and they put on a great match. Even though Stephanie Vaquer came out with the title, Raquel looked really strong in this match. Before the closing moments of this match, anytime that Stephanie tried to get any kind of offense on Raquel, Raquel would just power out of it. She would lift her up, slam her down, she would outmuscle her, everything. Despite taking the L, Raquel still looked very strong in this match, and it's starting to make the fans see her in this championship light. I saw a lot of posts online talking about how Raquel deserves to have a run with the title before Liv Morgan comes back. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad at that. I think they could tell an interesting story with Raquel and Liv. But because Stephanie's run is still pretty new, I think they're going to let her run with the belt for a pretty long while still. So I think our hopes of having Raquel win before Liv comes back is kind of dead in the water. But I think Raquel should definitely win the strap, sometime in the future. That being said, Stephanie did retain, and after helping her fend off a post-match attack from the Judgment Day women, Nikki Bella blindsides Stephanie Vaquer, hits her with the title, and officially turns heel. I've been saying it for weeks. A lot of people have been saying it. People saw it coming. This goody-goody Nikki Bella character where she's trying to be friends with everybody, be this super good person, just wasn't clicking with audiences. But now that WWE pulled the trigger, made her turn heel, she can remind the fans why she is one of the greatest heels of all time in the women's division. This might be a hot take, but I think Nikki Bella is in the top 5 of heel characters in all of women's wrestling history. Maybe I'm just looking at it with rose-tinted glasses because I watched her during her prime, during when she had that Divas Championship, the record-breaking one. But people forget that even though she might not have the best in-ring work, her character work is top tier, absolutely elite. Now she's gonna have a chance to remind the fans why she is a legend in the women's division, and I'm glad WWE did not wait to pull this trigger. We all know WWE and Triple H have a bad habit habit of dragging these partnership, friendship storylines out, making us wait months and months and months until the turn eventually happens. But this short storyline with the Nikki and Stephanie friendship, it only lasted, what, like a month and a half, and they finally pulled the trigger and made Nikki Bella heel. And I'm glad they did not wait and make it overstay its welcome. For the end game of this feud, I don't see a world where Nikki Bella is going to win the title off of Stephanie. I think this is just a good first feud for Stephanie to solidify her title run. If Nikki does somehow win it off of Stephanie, I wouldn't be that mad at it. But I think a large majority of the fan base, especially the online community, will riot if Nikki Bella wins the belt. So yeah, I think there is no shot that Nikki Bella wins the title off of Stephanie, but I do hope they tell a really good story. Being in John Cena's hometown of Boston, this was the perfect venue to kick off the Last Time Is Now tournament to determine John Cena's final opponent that he will face on December 13th. We had our first two matches in this. We had Damian Priest go up against Rusev, with Rusev taking the dub, and then we had Sheamus versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and Sheamus takes the dub in that one. Both of these matches had a very similar vibe. They were both hard-hitting, very physical, very brutal matches. They weren't absolute classics or anything, but they definitely did set a very good foundation for the rest of the tournament, and I think it's only going to go up from here, especially since on the show they also announced the next two matches for next week's Raw, which is Javon Evans versus Gunther. That match is going to be absolutely generational. Oh my god. And then they announced Solo Sikoa versus a mystery opponent, similar to how there's going to be a mystery opponent this Friday on SmackDown. So depending on who that mystery opponent is, that match will also be very good. So considering the matches that we had for the tournament on this show and how things are only going to go up, I'm very excited for the direction of this tournament. If you want to know my opinion on who's going to win the tournament and interesting storylines that could lead into and out of John Cena's final match, go check out the video that I posted yesterday. I'll try to leave a link to it in the description below. If not, it'll be in the pinned comment. That's really it for the really big major points of this show, but one thing that I do really want to touch on is the whole Maxine Dupree Intercontinental Championship thing. Maxine is finally cashing in her opportunity to go after the IC Championship at MSG next week. And I want to acknowledge that she is getting a major opportunity and she absolutely deserves it. Not deserves it. She absolutely earned it. She has been putting a lot of work to improving into the ring, improving her character, improving at this craft of professional wrestling. WWE is finally going to reward her and give her a big match in front of a big audience against one of the all-time best women's wrestlers. Do I think Maxine's gonna win? No. I think this match is just gonna serve as the vehicle for AJ Lee's comeback at MSG. But that being said, I'm very happy for Maxine. I'm glad that she's getting an opportunity in front of a big sold-out crowd, because you know it's gonna be sold out because it's one of John Cena's last appearances. So yeah, so I just wanted to say that I wanted to give my flowers to Maxine because she has been putting in the work over these past couple of years, and I just wanted to mention it. Some notable absence on this show: JD McDonough and Finn Balor. They were nowhere on this show. Why? I have no idea. It could have been the perfect opportunity to have some kind of backstage segment between the Judgment Day after Dom lost his Intercontinental Championship. They might be saving that segment for next week's show though, but if they're not on next week, I think now it's time to hit the panic button then. And there was no LA Knight, at least on the main show. Online, I did see that he cut a promo during commercial break, but because I'm a US viewer, I had ads during that time, so I didn't get to see LA Knight on my screen. He will have a match on Friday though against a mystery opponent, so hopefully he wins. I doubt he does because it's a mystery opponent, so they're probably going to put him over. But yeah, seems like LA Knight is still in the doghouse. Yeah, I think that's all I had to talk about for this episode of Raw. Like I said at the beginning, let me know your comments below about your reactions to this episode of Raw. I love holding a discussion with you guys in the comments. I love reading your guys' opinions. I love interacting with the wrestling community, so please do leave a comment. I try to answer every single comment I see. If I don't answer it, I will at least like it so you know that I'm reading it at least. And like I said at the top of the video, go follow the TikTok page. I'll talk to you guys in those comment sections as well, and we post some other content that I don't post on YouTube or the YouTube shorts, like reaction content, because here it'll definitely get flagged more than it will on TikTok. So do go follow TikTok. You get more content there. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.